Hi, I'm Kathy Sciere, and this is the Kathy Sciere Show. Do you want to know one of the least salesy, non-pushy ways to attract your ideal clients? Then you are going to love today's conversation. Hello, everyone. I'm Kathy Sciere, and welcome to the show today. Very happy to have you here. Today, we're talking about content marketing. Now, that's the number one way to build relationships with your tribe and potential ideal clients. I'm so excited to introduce you to my guest. She's my friend and colleague, Wendy Simard. She has two businesses, but the one we are going to focus on today is Sprouted Content. Welcome, Wendy.
Oh, thanks for having me, Kathy. I'm happy to be here.
So, to kick things off, why don't you just tell us a little bit about Sprouted Content?
Sure thing. So, Sprouted Content is basically an article library specifically for health and wellness practitioners. It was designed with the idea to make these practitioners' lives easier. The article contains up to up to 110. I think we're at about 85 wellness articles that cover kind of the range of topics, everything from, ways to mitigate stress to cleansing correctly to finding your inner child. I mean, it really runs the gamut of health and wellness topics. And like I said, I started Sprouted Content to help practitioners just to make their lives easier. I mean, the marketing piece is usually something that falls to the bottom of the list. And with access to this library, practitioners can update their blogs, get their newsletters out in a timely manner, while adding their own flair and having it and it takes a lot less time and effort. This is just like kind of easier for them to kind of get in the motion of getting content out there and get seen and spread their message wider. So I don't know, that was a little bit rambling, but that's basically what Sprouted is. It's a tool for practitioners to make their lives easier and make their marketing effort easier.
Well, I think it's a great concept, and who doesn't want to make things easier
No.
and quicker because we all seem to be short on time all the time.
Oh.
So, for a little context before we dive into content marketing and blogging a little more specifically,
Sure.
I would love for you to share your personal journey to entrepreneurship.
That winding path. Well, so I worked in, I did the traditional go to college, degree in journalism, worked in publishing for many, many years, 20 plus years. It's kind of crazy to hear myself say that. And, over that period of time, I kind of was drawn to startups. I mean, I always seemed to be working for startups, with the exception of one or two really big companies. I worked for Time Warner for a spell, and I worked for a company that did work for NBCOlympics.com for a spell. But outside of that, everything was a startup. I mean, it was sort of like these smaller, like roll your sleeves up, wear many hats kind of environments. I really seemed to thrive in that setting. So backtrack to maybe 4 years ago, my health was really taking a nosedive, and my allergies were just out of control. I was really exhausted. I thought I had chronic fatigue. I couldn't figure out what was going on, and that kind of led me to finding holistic health via my naturopath. And when I realized that food and lifestyle changes could improve my life in the way that they did, I felt like I needed to become an evangelist for this. It was just one of those things. I mean, I know this is a common story. I mean, many people come to it in this way, but I enrolled in the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. I never really did that with the idea of becoming a health coach per se. I always thought that I'd be doing something different. And it's pretty interesting that at the HMBA conference in Philadelphia about a year and a half ago, I was hearing where I was learning about marketing through my mentors, Carrie Peters and Stacey Morgenstern, and we were talking about marketing, and all I could hear in the room was, I can't stand writing. Writing is so difficult. I hate writing, writing, writing,
Right.
writing. Ugh, you know. And I thought to myself, wait a minute. So I have this skill. I can write. I've been writing, working as a writer and editor and designer in that capacity for 20 plus years, in all sorts of different organizations. So I figured, why not help these practitioners get over that writing hump by providing this service? So, I mean, it's really roundabout. And, I also have my health coaching. It's morphing and changing and developing. My health coaching practice is Green Dot Garden, planting the seeds of health. I'm obsessed with gardening, hence the sprouted content and Green Dot Gardening. So anyway, that's just kind of how it all came about. And I love working for myself. I mean, I just love kind of the energy. I love that I have total creative freedom. And that's something that I want to encourage holistic entrepreneurs to really embrace and explore, because I think that can really help drive their business forward. So anyway, that's
So, Wendy, it's interesting because you and I have had quite similar paths, including starting out in journalism.
no.
And although what we do today is a little different, but we're both in the business of helping other entrepreneurs market their businesses and gain visibility and credibility and be known as an expert in their niche, which kind of nicely brings us to the broader topic of content marketing. Can you tell me, what's your definition of content marketing?
Oh my gosh. So I would say that content marketing well, first of all, it's ubiquitous. It's everywhere now. I mean, content marketing it's a newer term, it's only been around for a couple of years. But all marketing is content marketing right now. I mean, your email signature is content marketing. What the words you choose to put in your email signature. Your business card is content marketing. I mean, this wasn't the way, we thought about content, or you and I probably thought about
Right,
it.
exactly. Content was something completely different.
Exactly. So, content marketing basically are the words you choose and how you package it to present yourself and your brand to the world. I mean, that's my broad kind of definition of that. How it plays out is entirely different. How it shows up. I mean, it shows up.
Well, what are some of the different mediums that, content marketing is distributed through? I mean, obviously we talked about blogs as a big one, but there are a lot of other ones. What are some of the other ones?
Sure. I mean, newsletters are a big one. I mean, email, there's this myth that email is dead. Email marketing is not dead. And content marketing via newsletters and via e-blasts and via all those, kind of ways that you reach out to your list is still very, very relevant, really not going anywhere. So I do believe that's a myth. So newsletters are a big one. E-blast to your list, another huge one. Blogging, of course. Social media, anything that you put to Facebook, onto Twitter. How do you tweet? What's the voice that you use when you're tweeting? Commenting on other people's blogs.
I'm going to add another one right now. What we're doing right here, right now, is interviewing people on video, or just interviewing people is a great form of content marketing, and it's really hot right now.
Absolutely. And podcasts too. I feel like podcasts are getting a resurgence, of popularity. I mean, my husband recently subscribed to like 20 podcasts. He's listening to podcasts all day long. I'm like, what is this? Podcasts seem like a thing of the past. He's like, And sure enough, that's another great channel to get your voice out. And yes, video and podcasting are really, really hot right now. So all of those kind of fall under that umbrella of content marketing.
So what do you think is the top reason entrepreneurs should be aggressively embracing content marketing right now?
Well, I mean, if you're not putting yourself out there, no one is going to find you. It's really that simple. I mean, I think that the more you can hone your voice, get comfortable speaking out and sharing your message via all these different channels, the more credibility you build, the more recognition, name recognition, brand recognition you build, and people will be able to find you. I mean, you're not going to be able to share your message, do the good work that you want to do if you are hanging out at home feeling nervous about spreading your message. So, I mean, I know that that's a hard one to
Well,
kind
I've heard you say the way to gain clients now is to gain trust.
yeah.
And can you elaborate on that as how that fits in with content marketing?
Oh, yeah, Kathy, absolutely. This is a big one for me. I feel like there's this adage in marketing that's old, but I think it still works. And, to gain a client or a customer, they need to see you or hear from you 7 times. So if you keep that
Right.
7 times in your mind, it kind of makes sense, right? I mean, I don't actually plunk down money for things until I've learned about somebody or understand what they're about or understand the product or service so well that I'm going to actually trust that it's going to work for me. So I think that building that trust is imperative. And the way to do that is by being consistent with your messaging, being consistent with putting out your messaging, those two pieces in tandem. So a big part of what I try to do with Sprouted when I'm communicating with the people on my list, the people in that tribe, is to encourage them to just be consistent, keep putting
It's
messages out, even if it feels uncomfortable, scary, or you're not prioritizing it because of time, because it's going to bite you in the end. You need to build that trust by getting out there repeatedly.
right. That reminds me, it seems to me, a movement almost in marketing today that's going away from high pressure and it's getting less salesy and less pushy. And I know a lot of entrepreneurs, particularly in health and wellness, are really uncomfortable with selling, period, or sounding like they're selling. So it seems to me that if the idea now is to build an audience and a relationship with that audience before you try to sell them your programs or your products or your services, that's a better fit. So what are some of the specific ways a blog, a video, or an ebook might help build a relationship with your audience? And how does that ultimately affect your business?
Well, yeah, I mean, those you're making some great points, Kathy. The way ways of marketing are changing right now. It is about relationship building, and just as you would go about making a friend, I think you want to think about your business in that way. Not that you want to have hundreds and thousands of friends per se, but how would you go about building trust with a friend, and when you think about it that way, I think your mindset really shifts. And the other thing I just wanted to say before I know I'm getting on a little bit of a tangent, but if you're coming from a place of service, not selling, and delivering value, and how can you make people's lives better, how can you make their day better, how can you make their you know whatever they're struggling with a little bit easier in that moment, that's a great way to really build trust. And I mean, you can do it through, okay, so let's take blogging, for example.
Great.
So we're running a blog challenge, a mini blog challenge over on the Sprouted Content Facebook group page
Oh, that's
the month of
great.
April. Yeah, and it's been awesome because I feel like we kicked it off with a call. It gave people some guidelines to go by. But the whole idea was that they're getting out there delivering their message repeatedly. So I'm participating in this challenge as well, along with
Good for you.
Sprouted, group members. And I'm blogging for the first time consistently on my Green Dot Garden site. Now, this is a long way of me saying that what I get a lot of from people are questions about, how do I grow plants? How do I grow them? And now that we're in gardening season, this is really coming up more and more. So what I plan on doing is all next week running a series on how to grow this, how to grow, 7 days. And you'll be happy to know I'm doing some video mixed in. Yeah,
Yay.
I'm going to do a mix of video content and just straight blog posts with photos and captions and just breaking things down. And so I think for me, like, that's a really good way to deliver value via my blog, so people get to know me. Maybe they'll try some of the things that I'm recommending. I'm answering some questions in the process. And on the other side of that, I mean, I'm not saying like those are the 7 times, the 7 marketing times that they need to hear from me. I mean, but just a week of consistent blogging, answering a question that I know has been coming up, I think will help build trust and can help you kind of,
Make that connection, right?
yeah, like form that relationship. Yeah. And, comments on the blog are coming in and, that's really exciting too. Like making sure that you're engaged in the process. You can't sort of like think that you're going to throw some content out there, throw it on the wall, hope that
Right.
it sticks. It's a living, breathing, kind of moving entity where,
And that's true with anything, whether you're doing it in video
yeah,
or any other kind of vehicle you're using for your content.
absolutely. I mean, I know there have been times when I've gotten really busy, and on the Sprouted Facebook page, it's been sort of like crickets for a week or so. And I got to tell you, like interactivity really takes a nosedive. You can see the metrics. You have all the metrics at your disposal to back up what we're talking about. I mean, if you're quiet, your audience goes elsewhere. There's a lot of competition for their attention, so you need to kind of keep engaged and keep them interested. So
Well, I'm glad you brought up blogging. Let's spend a few minutes kind of taking a little bit deeper dive into blogging. I
sure.
know that that's kind of very much at the forefront for you right now.
Yeah.
So, what are some of the obstacles or challenges entrepreneurs are facing with getting started with content marketing? What do you come across most often?
I would say it's one of three things, or maybe a combination of three things. I think that the first thing is fear of putting yourself out there. I mean, I think that's
Right.
a big one. But kind of dovetailing with that, or kind of connected to that, is not being very clear on your message and what you have to offer. So it kind of makes sense if you're not clear about
Right.
what you want to be of service with, or how you want to serve people, or very clear on what you offer or what value you deliver, you're going to be nervous, or you're not going to have that confidence to really like put yourself out there. So I think those two are really interrelated. And then, the third is just time.
Right. And well, what about people who say they just, oh, I can't write?
Well, yes, that's a big one too. And I have to say, like, even me, like someone who has worked, I mean, in all these publications, websites, book publishing, editing things out the wazoo, writing the whole time, there's that internal editor, that perfectionist that kicks in, that you need to basically have a kind and gentle conversation with, but you do have to put her in her place, which I'm learning to do as well. I think there's that internal editor, that internal kind of perfectionist that you need to kind of just let,
Asked to go
yeah,
away for a while.
yeah, very kindly and lovingly. Do you know what I mean? But yes, I mean, this person needs to take a back seat. She was born probably when you were very small, when you were a child, and her purpose is to serve you in some way, but it's no longer serving you. So that internal voice that says, "Oh, it's not perfect. It's not perfect. It needs to be perfect," stalls a lot of people. And
I've heard you talk about, which I think is a great idea, uh, setting aside just a little bit of time every day to write, not necessarily write a blog post,
yeah.
but just to write. So you're kind of working those muscles. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think with this blogging challenge, this has really kind of helped myself and other people in the group get into that habit, because a lot of it is just habit. I mean, you could make writing something that's like a lifestyle change, and you could, I know it sounds funny to say that, I don't know, but the same way we do with health and wellness, you get up and you meditate and you have your water, your warm water with lemon to alkalize your body. Maybe you start writing. What did you dream about last night? What's the first thing that comes to your mind? I mean, I tend to have my inspiration later at night, which is, I'm trying really hard to flip that. I don't want to be up late writing, but yes, I do believe that writing is a habit. It's not like you need some special talent. It's carving out the time, making it a priority.
And also another thing that I think, because I know this comes to mind with people who are as an obstacle to doing videos, is they're like, well, what am I going to say? What am I going to talk about? What am I going to write about? So I think you have some really good ideas for generating content ideas.
Oh, I mean, the thing with ideas is I think people have more ideas than they know what to do with, and it manifests as I have no ideas, if that makes sense. Like overwhelm just kicks in. It's like you could write about anything. But a few things that I advise people to do is have a goal in mind with your writing. I mean, it's one thing to kind of write about whatever comes to mind, but if you're being strategic about your content marketing effort, you're going to have a calendar. Okay, I mean, a calendar is like my lifeline. I mean, basically, my calendar helps me define what I want to put out to the universe, to the world in any given time. And I usually do it a month at a time. And that can include blog posts. It can include your newsletter blast. It can include any promotional things that you're doing. You can get as nitty gritty as like daily Facebook updates and Twitter. But I personally don't get that kind of granular with it. For me, it's basically, here's the month. Here are the the way I start out is, here are the days I want to post. Blog posts, newsletters, e-blasts. And then from there, you can start getting more detailed about what am I going to blog about this week. And then from there, you can even hone in more. So I think that it's sort of like having that calendar. Without a calendar, you're really kind of willy-nilly. You're just sort of, what did I have for breakfast today? I had quinoa. I'm going to write about quinoa. Now that works. That may work here and there to fill in, but if that's your strategy, I don't think that's actually going to get very far.
So the calendar and the editorial calendar is, I think, kind of key to being consistent regardless of what type of marketing you're using, but particularly with content marketing, I think it's really important.
Yes, absolutely. And I live and die by the simplest editorial calendar tool you could probably get is Google Calendar. I mean,
yeah, that's what I use too.
I love it. It's free and it has so much malleability. You can share it with people if you have team members. I mean, I think it's really great.
So Wendy, I know that you have identified 4 types of content, and I know it's primarily for blogging, but I think it can also be applied to things like video and doing interviews or other forms of content marketing. So can you quickly just go through what those are?
Oh, absolutely, Kathy. I'm glad you asked that question because I do think these 4 types will help you fill in your editorial calendar, and it'll help you with video. I'm glad you mentioned that because video, I think the variety is really nice to have. So the first is evergreen content, and that's just content that this may take you a little bit longer to create, but it's sort of content that really speaks to your niche. It's going to be extremely helpful to your ideal target market. It's going to be very search engine friendly. So for instance, if gluten-free is your your niche and your target market is just hungry for articles about how to create a gluten-free pantry, you take a little more time in a longer post or a longer script that talks about all the ways that you can kind of clean up your pantry. And that's something that you can keep on your site for a very long time. It's video that will not get old over time. Evergreen basically means it's
not going to change, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the kind of stuff that the search engine, Google loves. They're going to gobble it up because they're going to be a lot of really rich keywords throughout. And so evergreen content is the first type of content that I encourage people to kind of focus on. And this is not something that you're going to do a lot of because it takes a lot of more effort to produce this kind of content. This is something that you're going to do maybe once or twice a month, maybe, to help build your repertoire of that, for lack of a better. But yeah, so that's evergreen content. Identity content is the second kind of content, and that is can be more personal. It basically talks about it allows your audience to get to know you better,
which is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's what you do, why you do it, maybe a little bit of your story, and that can be sprinkled throughout. That's something nice to kind of just have in your back pocket to share and build that trust in that relationship. The third is people content. So that's where you may want to highlight some client testimonials or some client case studies. This may be where you want to talk about other people in your space that are doing interesting and exciting work. This is where you kind of take the spotlight off of yourself and put it onto others in your community that are helping deliver the same type of value or complementary value, to what you're doing. Or just, the case studies are huge. I mean, that's
Yeah,
really
people
helpful.
love those.
Yeah, I gobble them up, and it helps people who haven't worked with you yet see what the results could be from working with you. And then the fourth type of content is just bread and butter. I mean, that would be content that it's sort of like evergreen light, I would say. It might be more like seeing a news article that's current, you know what I mean?
Right.
And then figuring out a way to layer in your niche or layer in your messaging with that, or giving your take on it, or it's just the stuff that's sort of going on day to day, that's relevant to your niche, but it's a less deep dive than the evergreen, so that helps fill
So
in
that
the
would be
blank.
kind of, would that include things that are sort of how to and instructional or sort of more educational?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like the top 10 lists are great
Ah,
bread and butter content, things like that the search engine will also really gobble up. Yeah, tips, tricks, mythbusters, all those smaller, quicker to create pieces of content, but that are still really relevant to the work that you do would be considered bread and butter
that sounds
content.
like a great mix, Wendy. I really like that that you identified those. Now, I just have a couple more quick questions for you. My
Okay.
first is I would love to know who some of your favorite content marketing wizards are. Like, who do you follow and recommend? And then after you tell me, I'll add links below the post here so other people can check them out.
Oh, wonderful. Um, okay, so my number one all-time favorite is copyblogger.com.
Mm-hmm.
Copyblogger is just an amazing, amazing online resource for content marketing. It's Brian Clark and his crew, and they have a podcast. They have an amazing free. They have a free sort of like 20 email content marketing get up to speed fast kind of program that you can run through, which I highly recommend. So yeah, Copyblogger is great. Um, I've recently come across a woman who taught me a lot about blogging. I mean, I hadn't done much blogging prior to kind of soaking things in this year. And the woman that I really love, whom was recommended to me by one of our colleagues, is a woman named Michelle Schaefer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure it's just michelleschaefer.com. But she is just talk about giving you value. I mean, if nothing else, go to her site to understand how to use content to just deliver like tons of value.
Sounds
I mean,
awesome.
yeah, she just rains it on. And then, it's so interesting because this is going to seem offbeat a little bit, but so I subscribe to a lot of newsletters
Right.
and a lot of different coaches and business coaches and things like that. And I have to say, I really, really love how Nisha Moodley
Uh-huh.
does her email marketing, So, um,
Yeah,
and
she's a star.
it just comes from a place of really true authenticity. And I think that the more authentic we can all be in our messaging, like the better
Oh,
results we're going to
so
have.
true.
So I know that she's not like a content marketer per se with tips about this, this, that, or the other, but I feel like just as a model of how to do it in a way that's really authentic and real, check her out for that.
And I'm glad you brought that up because I think that's really what is at the heart of successful content marketing because people really, they want to know the real you. And content marketing is an opportunity to let them know who you really are. So that authenticity is truly, truly important. Well,
Yeah.
Wendy, one more question. I just want to know where people can find you online and what's the best way to connect with you.
Oh, of course. So of course you can learn more about the Sprouted Content Library and check out the super fun video at sproutedcontent.com. You can also, while you're there, you can download an action guide that has a sample article and it shows 6 different ways to use it. So I think that's really a fun way to see the different ways you can repurpose content because I think that's a good way to get us out of that oh my God, we have to
Right.
create some content all the time.
I'm a huge
Um,
fan of repurposing. And I think a lot of people overlook it.
yeah, it's huge. It's a total time saver. So, sproutedcontent.com. And then Facebook, it's Facebook.com/sprouted content. I invite people to come over to our sprouted content, the Trust Factor group, which is that's a private Facebook group. It's anyone can join, and we support each other there in our content efforts. So that's just Sprouted Content, the Trust Factor group. And if you join, or if you request to join, I'll get you in right away. And then Twitter is just @Sprouted Content, and my email address is info@sproutedcontent.com.
Excellent. Wendy, I've really enjoyed this conversation. It's always a delight talking to you.
Oh, you too.
And I hope we can do it again sometime.
Oh, I would love to. I'm gonna start doing some more videos. So.
Yeah, that's good.
Thanks to your help. Thank you so much.
Okay, Wendy, thank you, and take care.
You too. Bye, Kathy.
Bye-bye. So I hope you enjoyed our conversation and picked up some good insights and advice. If you like the interview, please share it with your friends and visit my website. Here's the easy address, thekathyshow.com. Leave me some comments and subscribe to my email list so you can get my next episode delivered straight to your inbox. Till next time, wishing you brilliant health and downright ridiculous wealth.